Prepare to be deeply unsettled by a hidden truth that your local exterminator is banking on you never discovering. Imagine a substance that has decimated crawling pests since long before humanity took its first breath. This material obliterates spiders, ants, roaches, bedbugs, ticks, silverfish, and nearly every household intruder you can possibly name. It leaves absolutely no toxic fumes or chemical residue behind. Crucially, no insect can ever build up a tolerance to it because it attacks their biology through pure, inescapable physics. The government formally approves its safety. Natural farmers swear by it. In certain forms, you could practically sprinkle it on your breakfast. A whole sack costs under $5 at most supply stores. Yet, while you pay for expensive monthly services, the pest control sector pulls in $16 billion annually from homeowners who haven't heard its name. That isn't some random, happy accident. Stay focused. What exactly is this mystery dust? And why does it defeat creatures that easily survive heavy chemical sprays? Our story begins roughly 30 million years in the past, deep within prehistoric waterways. Tiny organisms known as diatoms once thrived there. These are microscopic algae shielded by shells of silica, which is essentially glass found in nature. For eons, these tiny creatures lived, perished, and settled at the bottom. Their crystalline remains piled up in massive layers thousands of feet thick. Eventually, those deposits turned into soft, sedimentary stone. We excavate that prehistoric rock, crush it into a snowy white grit, and that fine material is diatomaceous earth. Now, here is where the narrative gets fascinating. To your naked eye, or to your fingertips, it feels like a soft, chalky mineral, totally harmless to humans. But when you look closer at the scale of a beetle, the environment changes completely. At the microscopic level, every single grain of this earth is a jagged, razor-sharp shard of fossilized glass. To a small pest, this isn't soft powder. It's a landscape of thousands of serrated blades. Each fragment is capable of slicing right through the waxy protective coating of a bug's outer shell. And here's the vital detail. Insects depend on that waxy moisture barrier to survive. Without it, they leak vital fluids through their skin at a speed that is fatal. They aren't being poisoned, they aren't getting paralyzed by neurotoxins. They are simply drying out from the inside. This specialized earth causes pests to wither and die by soaking up the essential oils and fats from the insect's protective exterior. Its serrated surfaces are incredibly abrasive, which speeds up the entire lethal process. Physics does not negotiate with biological evolution, because the mechanism of death is purely physical, mechanical destruction at a tiny scale. There is no biological path for resistance to ever appear. Chemical sprays work by targeting specific neural or metabolic functions. Insects can evolve around those internal systems over several generations. This dust simply tears through the physical structure of their bodies. Bugs cannot adapt to being shredded. You can't evolve a way to survive a razor blade. How quickly does this actually work, and which pests does it target? Soft-bodied invaders like aphids or garden caterpillars might perish within 12 to 24 hours. Fleas and bedbugs generally succumb within a window of 1 to 3 days. Roaches and larger beetles, due to their thick armor and size, may take nearly a week to fully expire. It is not an instant kill, but it is a permanent one. A coated surface stays lethal to any creature that walks over it as long as the material stays dry. For weeks, months, or even years inside a wall or under a cabinet where humidity is low, it remains active. You put it down once, and it continues functioning without evaporating or requiring a subscription-based reapplication on a schedule that is designed purely to keep you spending money. The list of pests it eradicates reads like a menu of everything people hire professionals to handle. Ants, cockroaches, jumping fleas, bedbugs, silverfish, earwigs, beetles, weevils in your grain, mites in the garden, ticks in your grass, slugs in the flower beds, and fungus gnats in your houseplants. The same $4 sack handles every single one through the identical physical process. A landmark 2015 study mentioned in several pest journals showed a massive drop in ant colonies following a single application. Research found in peer-reviewed scientific papers confirms total effectiveness against bedbugs, including the modern super strains that have become immune to chemical sprays. Those are the exact pests making the traditional industry's liquid solutions less effective in cities across the globe. Now, ask the question no corporate exterminator wants to answer. If this exists, if the EPA registers it, if organic growers use it on our food, and if it has a century of proof behind it, why does a standard house contract cost nearly $1,000 a year? Why does the average family spend $500 annually on spraying services according to recent market data? Why doesn't the industry just give you a bag of this grit and leave? You already understand the logic. A tiny bag that fixes the issue forever for the price of a coffee is not a viable business model. It is a business killer. The chemical treadmill is the actual product they are selling you. You get a spray, the bugs return, and you call for another spray. The subscription logic depends entirely on temporary fixes. This earth, when applied correctly, is the opposite of temporary. It waits, it lingers, it works every single time a creature with a shell walks across it. Here is exactly how you use it, and the common blunders that lead to failure. First, buy food grade only. This distinction is mandatory. There are industrial versions of this powder used for swimming pool filters that have been heat treated and chemically altered. That version is dangerous to breathe and toxic for this use. Food grade diatomaceous earth is what you need for pest control. It's found online at local nurseries or farm supply depots. Several brands are common and cheap. A small bag is under $10. A massive 50-pound sack, enough for a whole estate, is barely $30. For application, think thin. A light, almost invisible layer works much better than a giant pile. Bugs are smart. They will walk around a mountain of dust. Your goal is a microscopic coating on surfaces where pests travel. Think baseboards, behind the fridge, inside cabinet corners, around windowsills, or inside wall gaps. Outside, use it along fence lines or the foundation of your home. For gardening, apply it in the early morning once the dew evaporates and before any rain clouds appear in the sky. A simple puff from a plastic squeeze bottle gets the dust into crevices a hand cannot reach. For bed bugs, put a fine layer under the mattress and along the bed frame. Let it sit. The timeline is slower than a toxic fogger, but the bugs are physically unable to develop a defense against it, which is why experts recommend it for chemical-resistant infestations. A permanent solution is the enemy of a recurring profit. For pantry pests, and this part usually shocks people, food-grade dust can be mixed directly into bulk grain at a rate of 1 cup per 50 pounds. It coats the seeds and kills any larvae that try to eat it, with zero chemical risk to you. Farmers have protected their harvests this way for decades. Most modern families have no clue this is possible. However, there is one honest limitation. Moisture ruins the effect. In dry indoor rooms, it works for years, but outdoor spots need a refresh after a storm. Wet powder is basically useless because the particles clump up and lose their sharp edge's ability to penetrate an exoskeleton. For indoor dry spots, it is a set it and forget it solution. Also, remember that it does not kill eggs. It only kills the active bugs that walk through it. For fast-breeding species, you must keep the area treated through several life cycles to win the war. And a quick safety note. Breathing in any fine dust can irritate your lungs. Wear a simple mask if you're puffing it into a large attic or basement. Outside, it is rarely an issue. It is just a standard precaution for any fine mineral. This food-grade version has no chemical toxicity to humans or pets. Major university studies found no long-term health risks in animal tests, even at high amounts. The mask is for comfort, not because of poison. Here's the thought that stays with me. 30 million years of tiny algae dying in prehistoric seas. Their glass armor piling up, turning to stone, and eventually being ground into this powder. And every single pest that crawls across a thin layer of it today dies in the exact same way they did before humans even existed. The first products using this were registered in 1960. That is over 60 years of official data proving it works, proving it is safe, and proving it belongs in every home with kids or pets. 60 years. And yet, that salesperson who knocked on your door last week wanted hundreds of dollars for a chemical contract. If this information helped you today, please send this to a friend who is stuck on that chemical subscription loop. They deserve to know there's a cheap alternative that has been sitting on the shelf this entire time. Information like this doesn't just vanish. It gets buried by those who profit from your ignorance. Kenzo Times exists to dig these truths back up. Hit the like button and subscribe if that mission matters to you. We appreciate your time. I will see you in the next investigation.